Hi, I'm Kate.
And I'm Pete.
And we're from Chichester Harbour Conservancy. We're here to give you a bit of a wrap up on our Tern TV and the tern breeding season. So, how's it been, Pete?
It's been really good. It's been really good actually this year.
So, define good. How many terns do we think have fledged? How many chicks?
So we think that at least 75 common terns fledged from 4 rafts.
Wow.
So maybe as many as 85, but certainly 75.
That is incredible. And for context, so how many have we had fledged in the past?
So our max in the past was round about 50, maybe just over 50. So that was from slightly more pairs, perhaps, of terns. But yeah, 75 is by a record by quite a distance.
That is incredible. So we have way more terns flying around the harbour, or have they left? Where are they?
Well, tricky question that. We know that some of them will be nearby within the harbour. The adults and the juveniles will probably still be together. But we know that some, or at least one, has got as far as Titchfield Haven.
Wow, how do we know that, Pete?
We know that because in June, myself and a team of ringers put colour rings on 20 of the chicks from one of the rafts, and one of those chicks has been already seen at Titchfield Haven.
That's incredible. Yeah. That's really
Just
good to know.
Just in the last few days.
So they're out there, they're feeding themselves? Are they feeding themselves now?
Possibly a little bit, but they're probably still relying largely on adults giving them food and trying to teach them how to hunt. But at this stage, they're probably learning trial and error kind of stuff at the moment.
Excellent. So they stay with their parents for a while?
For a few weeks, we think. Maybe into the autumn, but this is the bit we're perhaps not so sure about.
And then they'll migrate south to?
Yeah, so they'll be heading off on migration very soon to probably off the west coast of Africa somewhere.
Excellent. Follow the weather. So we don't quite have empty nest syndrome. It's pretty empty, but what's this in between our two heads?
So this is a very late common tern chick. So there's on this raft with a camera on it, one pair probably didn't lay eggs until early July, so it's a really late breeding pair of common terns. They laid 3 eggs, 2 of them hatched, and one of the chicks is still surviving. So very late in the day. So we're now into early August and it's still being fed. There's quite a young chick really on the raft.
Yeah, and it's the only chick left on the raft other than 2 black-headed gulls, gull chicks, which are still there as well. On the subject of black-headed gulls, Pete, they use the raft too. We do talk a lot about the terns because that was our target species, the species that was in decline in Chichester Harbour, but black-headed gulls also use the raft. And has it been a successful season for the black-headed gulls?
It has, yeah. Across the 4 rafts, we think they've fledged around 60 young from about 30 pairs of black-headed gulls. So yeah, very successful again.
Good season for the black-headed gulls. We've noticed some interesting behaviour with black-headed gulls, haven't we, Pete?
Yeah. So there's a period of sort of 10 days, 2 weeks, where it appeared that there were at least 5 chicks, maybe more than that, maybe 7 chicks, all being fed by the same adult or the same group of adults. So there's essentially a creche forming around a group of youngsters that are all being fed by, basically it's co-parenting kind of scenario.
Yeah, so even though the chicks were sort of different size and obviously from different broods, one adult was coming in, or probably 6 adults or 4 adults were coming in and feeding these chicks.
All as a group, yeah, which is not something I've ever seen before. Apparently it does happen occasionally, but it's really interesting to see brood youngsters all getting food from the same adult.
I think the most interesting thing was seeing what they were feeding them actually. There were chips. Saw it here on Tern TV, chips. Yeah. So that's the black-headed gulls. We did also have a little bit of a predation issue, didn't we?
Yeah, really interesting. This is the first time I've seen this on any of our rafts for the last 6 years. So a common buzzard visited the raft. We know at least twice, maybe more than that, and on one occasion took a young gull, and another occasion took a young tern. So
it's pretty good news for the terns that the buzzard didn't discover that as a food source earlier, I guess.
Indeed. My thinking is that it quite likely took advantage of the late part of the breeding season where a lot of the birds had already left, the fledging, the youngsters are already fledged, the adults are then cleared off, so there was less sort of cooperative defence of the raft from all of the other gulls and terns.
So less of that sort of strength in numbers defence.
Yeah.
On that note, with buzzard coming in, is there anything that we can do next year to make the rafts a bit more predation safe from avian predators?
So we'll probably just deploy slightly better and more of the shelters under which the chicks, the young birds, can hide, because that is one of the techniques which we've deployed already, but it's evidently the buzzard could reach under the shelter and take the young tern, and we don't want that really to happen, so we'll just provide better shelters really.
Excellent. So Pete, on the subject of terns and talking about terns, you recently starred in a new podcast series, or the inaugural episode of a new podcast series. Do you want to just tell us a quick bit about that?
Yeah, there's a podcast called The Wandering Ecologist, and it's hosted by Penny Green, and yeah, we had a really nice chat about the Tern Rafts on Thorny Deeps whilst sitting there watching the terns and listening to the terns, so yeah, it was brilliant.
So you can go and listen to that wherever you get your podcasts, and it's The Wandering Ecologist. This is probably the last time we'll be talking about the common terns and the Tern Rafts. It's been a great season, hasn't it, Pete?
Amazing season.
The Tern Rafts are habitat for common terns. We also have another type of tern in the harbour, or two, but particularly one which is...
Little tern.
Anything you want to say?
Can't say.
Can't say,
but very excited. Will say in due course.
Yeah, come back in September, early September, and we'll give you an update on how the little terns have done in the harbour this year. And that probably just leaves us to say a big thank you to the Friends of Chichester Harbour who sponsor Tern TV and pay for Tern TV. And thanks for providing that unique insight into the terns. And also they were involved in the initial Return of the Tern project through the sourcing funds through the Green Challenge Recovery Fund, which paid for the Tern Rafts, which has been an incredible bit of habitat restoration work and habitat creation work. So yeah, enjoy.